Hello, my name is Liam and I'm 22. I've been a delivery boy for a little over 2 years. It began as a temporary job. Anything to get by and pay some bills. I didn't go to college. I never really saw the point. I've always believed that if I wanted anything, I had to work for it. No debt, no waiting, just work, save and go forward. That's always been my thing. I reside in a little rented house on the outskirts of town. 2 rooms, old wooden floorboards that creak when I walk, and a heater that rarely works in the winter. But it's mine, well rented. But still, it's quite simple and I enjoy living alone. My ride, a beat-up motor scooter, isn't much, but it gets me where I'm going. Every day I load deliveries and hit the road, packages, flowers, groceries, even dog food. You name it. People frequently greet me with a smile and I reciprocate. I don't know. I just like it. I enjoy the routine of the day, meeting strangers, seeing glimpses into other people's lives for a little moment before moving on to the next. Anyway, this one day began like any other. The forecast predicted rain in the afternoon, and the sky already appeared to have something to say. I had a few stops left, one to an address in a neighborhood I rarely visited, kind of tucked up behind some large pine trees. I arrived just as the first drops hit the plastic on my scooter's handlebar. I parked, picked up a little box, and sprinted up the stairs. Knocked once. The door opened a few seconds later. She stood barefoot on the hardwood floors, blonde hair pushed back loosely, no makeup, wearing a light blue sweater that seemed intended for wet days. She must have been around 30, perhaps somewhat younger, but she exuded a serene, tranquil beauty. Her name wasn't on the package, only initials, but when I inquired whether she was expecting it, she nodded, smiled, signed, and paid. I turned to leave, but by then the sky had totally opened up. Pouring, one of those rains that drenches you in 10 seconds flat. I stood there transfixed for a while, unsure whether to flee or remain on the doorstep. Then she said, "You may come in if you wish, only till it stops pouring." I paused. I don't normally do that. It's not standard. You deliver, you depart, you move on. But it was really going down like windshield wipers are ineffective in heavy rain. I nodded only for 1 minute, I said, trying not to sound weird. She stepped aside and I walked in. It smelled like tea and wood polish inside, a simple, cozy place. A sleeping dog on a throw blanket beside the couch. Soft jazz played over a little speaker in the corner. She offered me tea or water. I graciously declined. "I'm fine, thank you. Just going to wait a little time." I perched on the edge of the chair closest to the entrance, my jacket dripping on the floor, trying not to make a mess. She sat across from me, smiling. "So, are you always trapped in storms? Or is today special?" She joked. I laughed. "To be honest, it's become somewhat of a hobby for me lately." That cracked the ice. She inquired whether deliveries were all I did. I said, "Yes, I enjoyed it." She didn't pass judgment, just nodded. Asked about my hobbies, music. So, I told her I like old movies, repairing devices, and going on late-night rides when the city was quiet. She told me her name was Sophia. Worked from home doing nails, mostly private clients, mostly women. She'd been on her own for a time. Most of the time, her best companion was the dog. We discussed little things about nothing, but it felt real. Have you ever had one of those conversations where nothing profound was said, but it still seemed meaningful? Yes, that's it. The rain eventually faded, softened into a drizzle, then just stopped. I rose, thanked her again. She grinned, walked to the counter, took a sticky note, and scribbled something, handed it to me. "If you ever get bored," she said, "text me." I looked at the note, just her number, a small smiley face sketched at the bottom, like what a high school girl might do. But it didn't seem childish. Felt genuine. I placed the note in my jacket pocket and nodded. "I might just do that," I said, and I left. Back on the scooter, the road remained wet, but the sky began to clear, the sun peeking through the clouds as if it had just remembered its existence. I had 3 deliveries left, but all I could think of was the woman in the warm house, her sleeping dog, and the note in my pocket. It had been a week since I saw Sophia, 7 days, but it felt longer. I kept replaying that moment in my thoughts. She handed me the note. The smiley face said, "You may text me." It wasn't flirty. Wasn't just a move. Felt good, natural, like what decent people do when they genuinely mean it. I didn't text, not because I didn't want to. I really didn't want to come out as someone who overreacts to a courteous gesture. I mean, she was older, more put together, owned her own place, a business, a dog, a car. Meanwhile, I was riding around town on a scooter with duct tape covering the mirror, hoping it wouldn't rain. I couldn't quit thinking about her. It was my day off Sunday, nowhere to go. No deliveries, no responsibilities. I'd finished the laundry, cleaned the small kitchen, sat on the worn-out couch in my apartment, watching the ceiling fan whirl, trying to figure out what to do with the rest of my day. Then I took the sticky note out of the drawer where I'd put it, stared at her number for a whole minute, picked up my phone, lingered my hand over the keypad, and finally pressed the call button. She answered after the second ring. "Hello." Her voice was just as I remembered, calm, smooth, like it belonged in a setting with warm lamps and beautiful music. "Hey," I spoke a little too quickly. "It's Liam, the delivery man from last week." Pause then. "Liam, I wondered whether you'd ever call." My stomach flipped. We spoke for a few minutes, small things, how nice the weather had been lately. Her dog Max acting particularly clingy that morning. I told her I had the day off. Didn't know what to do with it. "That's funny," she said. "I was preparing to go for a short drive outside the city, just someplace green." I paused. "Do you want to come?" she asked nonchalantly. "It's nothing big, just a reset." She told me to come by her house we'd take. Her car laughed. "It's not fancy, but it probably runs better than your scooter." She wasn't mistaken. I put on a clean t-shirt, prepared a small cooler with 2 sandwiches, a few water bottles, some crackers. Nothing amazing, just simple. Used an old grocery sack since I didn't have a picnic basket. 20 minutes later, I knocked on her door again. Sophia opened it with the same friendly expression. Wearing jeans, sneakers, a lightweight jacket, hair pulled back, no makeup, still beautiful. She said, "Glad you arrived." Max growled once from inside, but didn't seem too interested this time. "I guess I've been accepted." We loaded into her car at a dusty silver SUV about 10 years old, but ran like new. Sunglasses on the dashboard, Fleetwood Mac playing, a half-eaten bag of gum in the cup holder. It already felt comfy. We drove out of the city buildings, giving way to trees and large open roadways. We didn't say much at first, just pointed out the occasional farm. A hawk swooping low, some cows grazing along the fence line. It was serene, not the sort of silence that feels weighty, just the kind that lets you breathe easier. After about 40 minutes, we pulled into a tiny open area beside a hiking road, the kind of place you'd only know if someone took you there. "This used to be my father's favorite area," she explained, grabbing a blanket from the back seat. "He used to come here and fish. There's a small creek down there." We spread the blanket near a clump of trees, sat down. I took out my cooler, gave her a sandwich. She laughed. "Did you actually buy pack food? That's adorable." "Don't expect gourmet," I warned. "It's essentially turkey and cheese." "It's perfect," she murmured, taking a bite. The sun shone brightly. The breeze kept it cool. We sat for what seemed like hours just talking. She told me more about herself, started painting nails because it let her be free. Had a long-term relationship that ended a while ago. Didn't regret it, but wasn't in a hurry to do it again. I listened to, asked questions, told her about growing up in a modest apartment with my mom and little brother. How I never had a strategy, just kept pushing forward, working, living. She eventually said, "You're kind of an old soul." I wasn't sure if that was a compliment, but I took it as one. As the sun began to set, we packed up, her handing me the blanket to fold while we loaded the car. She looked at me, said, "Thanks for coming. I don't think I would have gone if you hadn't." I smiled, same. We drove back in the fading light, chatting about favorite movies, quirky childhood memories, strange delivery experiences. She laughed a lot. I did too. It didn't feel like our first hangout, more like catching up with someone I already knew. She dropped me off at my apartment. "Next time," she added, "I'll bring the food." "Next time?" I asked, half joking. She smirked. "Guess you'll have to wait and see." I waved as she drove away. Back inside, I sat on my bed, still holding the tote bag, glanced at the blank wall in front of me. Felt something I hadn't in a long time. Hope. Things began to shift after that day in the woods. Not in a dramatic fireworks film way, just slowly, naturally, like water rising in a glass. You don't see it at first, then one day you glance and it's nearly full. After our picnic, we started messaging more. Not constantly, but enough. She'd send a snapshot of Max snuggled with a client's shoe or a short. "You'd hate this song, but I love it." I'd respond with a photo of the road me in the rain again. Strange lawn decorations I saw in deliveries or my soggy sandwich from when I forgot to wrap it right. We didn't try to be anything. We just were. She lived her life. I lived mine. But our paths kept crossing. That turned into weekend walks with Max, nighttime coffee trips, lazy Sunday afternoons watching movies at her house. I never said what we were doing. Neither did she. Then one night she did. It was a Friday. A long day, raining again. "Of course," she texted. "Are you hungry? I made too much." I was halfway through microwaving leftover pasta at home, but put it back in the fridge, hopped on my scooter. She opened the door barefoot, wearing sweats and old college sweater, hair messed up, greeting me with a spoon in her lips. "You made it just in time," she murmured, pulling out the spoon. "The soup's actually edible." The inside smelled like garlic and rosemary, candles lit on the windowsill. Not expensive, just small tea lights. Max gave me a cursory sniff, returned to a spot by the radiator. We ate on the couch, bowls on our knees, watching a rerun of a cooking competition where contestants kept failing the same dessert. The power flickered briefly, then went out completely. Sophia peered at me in the darkness. "Did you break it?" she asked. I laughed. "I only deliver packages, not power." She lit more candles from her drawer. The light flickered across her face, making everything seem sharper, more real. She sat down again, closer this time, said nothing, just stared at me a second longer than normal. Then she said, "You know, I didn't expect you to be a part of my life, right?" I nodded, unsure what to say. "I mean, you were just a delivery guy. A good one for sure." I grinned. And now she exhaled as if trying to figure it out, too. "Now I'm not sure, but I prefer it." I gazed at her. The candle light made her eyes softer. A vulnerability I hadn't noticed before. Not weakness, but honesty. Something in me leaned forward before I did. We kissed. Not hasty, messy, or desperate, but slow, gentle, familiar. Like finally saying something we couldn't express before. When we pulled back, she rested her head on my shoulder, whispered, "I didn't think I'd want this again. Not since the last time." "You don't need to rush anything," I said quietly. "I understand. I don't want to overthink it. I just want to feel it." And that's what we did. Things changed that night. Not with grand declarations. No calling each other boyfriend or girlfriend. No telling anyone. We just kept living a little closer, more intentional. She'd stop by my house after work some nights with dinner in to-go containers. I'd show up on her porch with flowers from a roadside stand. Sometimes we didn't hang out, just talked a few minutes before returning to our evenings. Easy yet meaningful. Months passed. The season turned trees from green to orange. Me wearing my old hoodie under my delivery jacket. Days shorter, but time with Sophia felt longer. One evening, walking Max through our neighborhood, the wind-chilly sidewalks covered in leaves, she slipped her hand into mine without saying anything. I gazed at her. "You cold?" I asked. "No," she replied. "Just wanted to." That was when I realized I wasn't just falling for her. I already had. Her lips curling up slightly without looking at me told me she felt the same. Still, a quiet hesitation lingered. We hadn't discussed what this meant, the future, the age gap, what others might think. But we didn't need to yet. In that moment, it wasn't about labels, years, or logic, but about two folks walking slowly along the street, crunching leaves beneath their feet. Nothing to prove, no one to impress. We just were, and it felt right. It had been about a year since I delivered that item in the rain. I was still making deliveries, still living in that creaking house on the outskirts, though I wasn't there much. Most evenings and mornings were at Sophia's. Her place felt more like home than mine ever did, not because it was bigger, cleaner, or better equipped, but because she was there. We never had a huge discussion about what we were. We didn't need to. We cooked together, fed Max together, fought about what to watch, but never agreed. She'd leave messages in my jacket pockets. I'd fix faulty cabinet doors and creaky hinges in her house without saying anything. That's what we were, a calm beat real. She hinted a couple times I might move in permanently. Never pressed, just said things like, "You know you spend more time here than at your house, right?" Or, "If you had a key, you wouldn't have to wait here like a stranger." Eventually, I stopped going home completely. My clothes were in her drawers, my toothbrush by hers. Even Max barked less when I walked in. That's when I knew I was in. Then one evening, eating leftover stir-fry on the couch, she said, "My parents are coming into town next weekend. They want to meet you." I froze mid-bite. Her parents, I hadn't really considered them. I knew they existed. She'd mentioned them several times, but it never felt urgent. Sophia didn't say much about her family. Not arranged, just distant. Said they were conventional, reserved, the kind who think every decision needs a spreadsheet. "You don't have to come," she said, sensing my reaction. "I just thought maybe it was time." "No, I want to be," I said, and meant it. "Just hope they don't dislike me." She smiled. "They won't." I wasn't sure. The next Saturday, we spent all morning cleaning her already clean house. Sophia changed outfits 3 times before settling on a basic top and pants. I ironed my one button-down shirt, tried to recall everything she'd said about them. When her parents arrived, I heard their voices before seeing them, her mother's sharp, precise. Her father's heavy, measured. They came in, shook my hand. Her father, Robert, looked me up and down like he was assessing my net worth with his eyes. Her mother, Clara, offered a polite grin, but her eyes stayed chilly. We sat in the living room. Sophia brought coffee and cakes from a nearby bakery. First few minutes were small talk, where I was from, how long I lived in the city, what I did. I told them about deliveries, how I enjoyed it, provided enough to cover life, that I wasn't the type who needed much, tried to emphasize liking the simplicity, the people, the movement. I thought I was doing fine until her father asked, "And what's your long-term plan?" "Liam," I halted. "I'm not sure yet," I answered honestly. "But I work hard, don't waste time, and I care about your daughter." He nodded slowly. "Work ethic's crucial, but so is vision." Clara added, "Sophia's always had high standards. We just hope she remembers that." That stung, but I said nothing. Sophia did, looking them in the eyes. She knows exactly what she's doing, and I know exactly what I'm doing. An unsettling quiet followed. Her parents stayed another half hour asking more surface-level questions before leaving. As the door closed, Sophia's side sank onto the couch's arm. "Well, that could have gone better. They didn't like me," I said, not asking. "They don't know you," she replied. "They just see a number in age, a job title." I sat beside her, stared at the floor. "I get it. I'm younger, no degree, not impressive on paper." She turned to me. "Hi, I didn't fall in love with a resume. I chose you not because you're a project, not because I'm lonely, but you make me feel safe, make me laugh. I don't have to pretend around you. That's what matters to me." I didn't say anything right away, just reached for her hand, held it. The next few days were quiet. She didn't hear much from her parents. Not surprising, just a thank you text for the coffee. That was it. But something had changed. Not between us, but around us. We weren't just two strangers who met in the rain. We were real, with pressure, expectations. Those who didn't understand, yet we still picked each other. One evening, maybe a week after the visit, we sat on the porch, late skies, clear only sound. Max snoozing inside. She turned to me and said, "I've been thinking I want you to officially move in. I know you already live here, but I want it to be ours, not just mine." I nodded. "Yeah, I want that too. And I don't care what my folks think," she added. "They had their shot at happiness. This is mine." So we started moving stuff around. I brought boxes from my old house, tools, clothes, a box of DVDs I'd probably never watch, but couldn't throw away. It wasn't a big change, but felt like a fresh chapter we were writing ourselves. It's been nearly 3 years since I delivered that item. I still remember that moment, the rain, the hesitation, how Sophia looked at me as she opened the door. How could something so little, so ordinary, turn into the start of everything? Now I'm sitting on the back stairs of the house we share, surrounded by things once hers, now ours. My dirty boots next to her gardening shoes. Max's leash by my backup helmet wind chimes. She picked out tools I used to fix the shed. We've fallen asleep in this hammock several times. We're not rich, not flashy, but we're firm, real. Life didn't get simpler after I moved in. We still had differences. She liked planning everything. I was more go with the flow. She'd worry if the fridge was low on groceries. I'd forget to check. She loved quiet Sunday mornings with tea. I liked music while cooking eggs. But somehow it worked. We grew into each other. I kept doing deliveries for a bit, then started side jobs fixing small appliances. It began with a neighbor's coffee machine, a friend's microwave, someone's bicycle. Word of mouth was better than ads. I built a small client base. Nothing big, just enough to feel like I was creating something mine. Sophia supported it. Even helped me make a website simple but clean. Said, if we're doing life together, let's do it right. We weren't rushing to marry. Honestly, didn't talk about it for a long time. Not because we didn't love each other. We did fiercely. But we were already living our kind of commitment, sharing space, money, holidays, decisions, knew what we had. Still, one calm evening in early autumn, I asked. Not a big proposal. No ring hidden in dessert. No hot air balloon or orchestra. Just us on the couch. Max snoring at her feet. Some dumb movie in the background. I looked at her. Said, you want to get married? She blinked. Is that how you ask? I smiled. Want something flashier? She grinned back. No, that's perfect. So we did not a big wedding, just close friends, neighbors, her cousin playing guitar at the ceremony. Her parents didn't come send a formal card. That was their way, I guess. But Sophia didn't let it spoil things. She stood beside me, eyes, calm, voice clear, said, I do, like she'd been saying it every day for years. We danced in her aunt's yard under string lights, sipped wine from mismatched cups, laughed until we cried. That night, lying in bed with her, I felt something new, absolute stillness, not emptiness, peace. That's how I knew. Now we live a life you rarely see in movies, but it's real. Getting up early, bickering about who left the light on grocery lists, vet visits, learning to apologize, listen, make space for each other, even on hard days. A few months ago, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, looked at her hands, said quietly, I've been thinking maybe I want to be a mother. I said nothing at first, wasn't scared, but didn't expect to feel so peaceful hearing it. A younger me would have panicked, but watching her twist the ring on her finger, I just smiled. And let's discuss it. I said, nothing's decided yet. We're not rushing, but we're talking dreaming together. Looking back, I used to think life only started once you sorted everything out. Had a plan, a degree, a job, a 5-year strategy. But now I know the truth. Sometimes life begins with a knock at the door in a rainstorm when all you want is to finish your route and go home before your socks get soaked. Sometimes the most significant people appear in your story when you're not trying to write anything at all. I hadn't planned on falling in love that day. Hadn't planned on staying, but she asked if I could stay till it stopped pouring. Liam's story with Sophia teaches us that life's most profound connections often begin in the most ordinary moments, like a rain-soaked delivery. When Sophia invited Liam to wait out the storm, it wasn't just shelter from the rain. It was an opening to something deeper. Their bond grew not from grand plans, but from quiet, intentional choices. A picnic, a walk with her dog, Max, a candlelit night when the power went out. This shows us that love and meaning flourish in the small, authentic interactions we choose to nurture. Even when the world questions our path, as Sophia's parents did, Liam, a young delivery boy with no degree, and Sophia, a woman rebuilding her life, defied doubts by building a shared home, proving that true connection transcends age or status. Their story reminds us to stay open to unexpected encounters and to trust the slow, steady rhythm of genuine relationships. It's about choosing someone every day, not for a resume or a plan, but for how they make you feel seen and safe. Have you ever found love or friendship in an unexpected moment? Share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear how a simple choice changed your life. If this tale warmed your heart, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell to join our community. Your support keeps these stories alive, inspiring us to embrace life's quiet magic. Let's keep sharing and growing together.